I'm Amy Morgan, the feature writer for the Marriage Initiative, and I am so delighted to introduce Alex and Don Flecky to you today. They are best known for bringing one of the most trusted and effective relationship enhancement courses into the 21st century. Now called Couple Talk, the program has been translated into 5 languages and reached thousands in 21 countries across 6 continents, everything but Antarctica. And since their programs are available online and via Zoom, if someone were in a research station, they might be able to access Couple Talk there too. Among their other accomplishments, Alex and Don started the Relationship Research Foundation, resources of which cover a continuum of relationship needs, from premarital love for life to the third option for couples in distress. Alex holds a master's degree in communication from California State University, Fullerton, where she's been an instructor. She's spoken at Smart Marriages, NARMI, Better Marriages, American Association of Christian Counselors, Biola University Apologetics Conference, and Orange County Department of Education. Don's a licensed minister in the Evangelical Free Church of America, has a counseling practice for in-person and online clients at donflecky.com. He's been counseling men and couples since the 1980s. Don and Alex, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thanks, Amy. Yeah.
Well, this has just been great. You have quite a story. Let's talk about your journey. How did you even get started in the relationship enhancement field?
Well, it was entirely accidental. I'm a building contractor, and I've had a business for longer than we've been married, actually.
Wow.
And which is like 45 years.
Yeah, and so that was my primary work. And at our home church here in Southern California, I volunteered as a peer counselor. And then there was a class for couples that the pastor offered, and they needed coaches and asked if some of us would coach, and I did, and I loved it. I really loved it. And so I tried to get Alex to join me, and she just wasn't going for it.
It was probably because of my family background. Like when you're thinking about helping a couple work through a conflict issue, to me, that just was like, a recipe for potential disaster. So I just didn't want to get near that. But then I entered graduate school in communication. And the first time I helped Don out, they were research subjects for me. And so little by little, I started to help him out. But he was the main go-getter on this.
I don't have the training Alex has, but I have kind of a natural interest in it, and I love doing it. So for many years, 15 to 20 years, we were just volunteers and doing it at our home church, teaching classes, and just kind of little by little it built up. And then we got hired on with Healthy Relationships California and worked for them for a number of years, and the story goes on after that. But it shows me that it isn't really necessarily what we intend. It's something that happened, and we see it as an act of God, that God worked in our lives to kind of little by little build us and put us in the positions that we've been in. And so now you're interviewing us.
Well, I just love that. And I do love that Alex was, kind of reluctantly, but she had a graduate class and she needed some people to study. And so that's how she got her toe in the water to work with you, it's to be part of that.
Yeah. In fact, I was okay up front teaching, but the coaching part where you actually sat with a couple was a big part of these classes. And so when I would first coach, I would sit down with a couple, and if emotions started to get a little intense, I would like pat them on the shoulder and say, "You're doing really well. I'm going to go on to the next couple." I just couldn't stay there. And then when we went back to the national headquarters for relationship enhancement, which is what Couple Talk is, we went there for a weekend retreat, and we were coaches in that retreat. So I was locked in a room for 45 minutes with a couple, and I couldn't escape. And so getting through that, where intense emotions could actually be safely expressed and the other person wasn't yelling or screaming in response, and being a part of it was such an honor. And I got hooked after that. Give me a couple having trouble and I'm there. It's just it's wonderful to know that even though I didn't feel like I had that gifting like Don did, that I could still be used in that way. And I'm really grateful for that.
And now you're pros. But talk about you kind of mentioned with Orange County and California. Talk about then how you kind of got into relationship enhancement, because that had been its own program since the 1970s, correct?
That's correct. And we were teaching a different program at our church as volunteers. And this guy showed up for one of our classes and asked if he could audit the class. His name is Dennis Stoika. And Dennis talked to us after class and invited us to learn this other program called Relationship Enhancement. So we went to a training that Dennis led for relationship enhancement. We learned these skills as participants. And eventually we were certified to teach classes, and we started to teach it at our home church. It originally was a secular program, so we, because we were teaching it at our church, we saw so many beautiful connections with the scripture. We started building that into our class, and the folks back east at the headquarters heard about that and said, "Gosh, there's a place for a Christian version. Would you consider doing it?" And so, again, that's those little steps that we didn't plan for or intend or shoot for. It wasn't our dream. It wasn't something we were aiming at. It just little by little, these things tended to happen for us.
Well, I love that. So you then were enlisted to create the Christian version. There is also still a secular version, but you did more than just add some scripture verses. You completely, like, as you say, you brought it into the 21st century. And some of that was using some of Alex's background. So let's talk about that, because I really want people to understand what Couple Talk is now and your role in, because it's something that our marriage champions might be very interested in using at their church or finding more, out more about. So I really want them to get a good idea of what Couple Talk is now and how you changed it.
Right. So we did not change the skills. Relationship enhancement teaches 11 skills. We teach the skills. The exercises are the same. We, like, for instance, the very first exercise that a couple does is they think back to a time when they were a child and an event happened to them that had some emotion or meaning. They tell their partner that. It's a great exercise because they probably didn't know each other, so they can't get into a conflict about it. They tell their childhood story. It might be the loss of a dog. It might be they had to move and be a new kid at school, and then their partner listens in a unique way and kind of experiences that. So the exercises even are the same, but what we wanted to do was make it so well structured that couples would really do what was most important, which is practice those exercises. So at Cal State Fullerton, there was a professor who specialized in distance education. So we consulted with her, and so we got her to give us advice. And some of the advice that she gave us was to use countdown clocks. On the video-led program, we use countdown clocks where we use a timer that gives the amount of minutes they're supposed to be practicing. She said, don't ever say, pause this video, practice the exercise, and then press play again, because they won't do it. So that was a big one. And then also after each exercise, because this is an experiential learning program, part of it is, experiencing the exercise, but then reflecting on it afterwards. So she was always, I took classes with her on how it wasn't just about distance learning. It was like really great ways to increase your impact as an instructor. And she said, people need novelty and structure. They need both of those. So the structure is every time after there's an exercise, you're going to reflect on it. But the novelty is that the reflections are different. Sometimes you might be checking off boxes. Another time we have like pictures. Select what picture really you most resonate with as to what the exercise felt like to you. And there's like a maze, and then there's somebody laying on a beach. And so they get to select that and then talk with their partner about it, because that really completes the whole experiential learning cycle. So we wanted to like structure it so well that even if we were removed as live teachers, they would get the greatest impact. So those are some of the things we did.
And I'll add that relationship enhancement initially in the 70s was developed by a psychologist, Bernard Gurney, as a therapeutic tool. He was counseling couples that were having trouble in their marriage. And so he was teaching these skills in his practice. And he had the idea, gosh, we can teach these skills to lay people and they can teach them to others. They can be learned in a class. Why wait until they come to my office and they're broken? Yeah, learn these things ahead of time. So he was an academic, and we love his ideas and his skills. Relationship enhancement was written at a college level using terminology that isn't common to most of us, including me. And so one of the things we did in Couple Talk was use a little different terminology to make it more accessible and more comfortable for folks. And so that was another step that we did. And then we told them the trained facilitator model, which is what they operated under, you had to go through a weekend class and pay a certain amount of money and be kind of checked out before you could lead a relationship enhancement class. We knew that was inhibiting its growth and its impact, and so we proposed having a video-led version of it, and they thought it was a good idea. And so Couple Talk can be done by a live facilitator, and we provide materials for that, or it can be done by a couple sitting on their couch at home by themselves.
Well, that's what I really am so glad that you brought that up, Don, because I wanted to make sure that our marriage champions who are watching this can understand how they can use Couple Talk, and if it's something they want to bring to their group or their church, so they can just get a video. They can, there's materials if they want to learn how to teach it. And you guys do some live Zooms twice a year. Talk about that too, if they want you.
Well, it is fun to do the live classes, and there's a different vibe. A lot of folks are kind of burnt out on video programs, and so we do the live class on Zoom twice a year, and it's Alex and me together.
Well, and what we also do is, and I think this is another innovation that we started during the pandemic. We teach it live, but remember, there's all those practice times. So we put our countdown clock, and for the next 12 minutes, you're practicing. But we value coaching, and when we teach it live in person, we have coaches who come and spend a minute or two, a few minutes with couples and move from couple to couple, maybe like there's a 3-to-1 ratio, 3 couples to 1 coach. Well, we do the same thing in the Zoom class. So what we have is a Zoom host. We've had these young Zoom hosts who totally understand what they're doing, and we've had coaches. And so when it's time to practice, all the couples get sent to their own private breakout room, and we tell them ahead of time, we have coaches here who are going to pop in on you, and our Zoom host sends them to the couple's private breakout room, and they're going to pop in on you and help coach you in the skills. We always say the coaching is not about your topic. It's about making sure you're using the skills correctly. And so they get sent into a breakout room with a couple, spend some time there. And if there is time after that couple, they come back to the main room where the Zoom host then sends them to another couple. So the technology has worked out beautifully. We've even had couples like they're in different locations. So there's 2 screens. So our host puts them together, so they're in their own breakout room in 2 different locations, and then the coach comes in. So the Zoom hosts keeps track of that, and we make sure that we get every couple coached during the course of the class.
So a group or an individual that's interested in bringing Couple Talk to their community, it can be done very simply by a couple at home on video with us teaching. Young, skinny Don and Alex are
like 15 years ago. So be gracious.
Yeah. Anyway, that's one way. But we also provide material for PowerPoint and a teacher script for those who want to teach it themselves, who enjoy the teaching and want to do it live. And that's available. All of it's available for no charge. The videos are online. There's no cost to see them and view them. And any of the teaching materials, the slides and such, are also available at no charge. The only cost is for the actual workbooks for Couple Talk. That's the only thing that participants would pay for. So a leader can start by going through Couple Talk themselves and understanding the skills, and we want that. And after that, they have the choice of using our videos or teaching it live, or gradually moving from our videos little by little into teaching it on their own at whatever pace they feel comfortable. So there isn't a formal certification. There's no cost to become a leader of a Couple Talk class. Our only request is that you experience the class yourself first and feel those skills and experience how they benefit, and then you can use our materials.
Oh, I love that. Thank you for making that so clear. That is such value to for our marriage champions to understand how they can access it, and that they have a really easy on-ramp that's going to fit them and fit their church budget. So that's really great. Thank you so much. Also, you have Couple Talk, which is kind of the relationship enhancement. You have things, like I said, from the breadth. You have a program started for couples in distress called The Third Option. Tell about that, because your story kind of fits in there too.
Yeah, The Third Option was written by a Catholic social worker in Syracuse, New York area back in the 80s. And as a part of our work, when we first began working for Healthy Relationships California, we were to start 3 third option programs using this existing program. And so we did that. And for a number of years, we had 3 different classes going in Orange County, California. And when the funding ended from the federal government, 2 of the classes ended, but the one that we had established here in our home at our home church in Fullerton, we didn't want it to end. There were so many sweet things that were happening. At that point, we had between 80 and 90 participants each week, and that we were seeing couples reunited and coming back together, not divorcing, families staying together. I mean, it was some really sweet stuff. And we hated the idea that we were just going to close it down. So we figured out a way to use a nonprofit that we had and begin to take donations from the participants. And so we were able to keep it going. So it started in 2010 and has continued through the federal funding, which ended in 2014. But then we've been able to keep it going using our nonprofit through today. And the program is structured to where it meets every week. So every Tuesday night since 2010, we've had a program, a class teaching healthy relationship skills here in Orange County.
Oh, 15 years. That is such a one, and continuing and counting. So
yeah, that's right. And counting. Yeah.
Well, talk about it, because it has kind of a rotational system. So talk about that, because that's something that people may want to access or implement, because it has a little different focus in Couple Talk. It's much more for the couple in distress.
Right. So what's wonderful about it is you can start on any Tuesday night. So because it teaches 14 basic relationship topics, things like anger, power struggles, expectations, respect, childhood issues, 14 different topics, but you can enter any Tuesday night. So what people locally love is they can refer a couple, and within 6 or 7 days, that couple can be getting help. So that's one great thing about it. The other thing is that an individual can attend without their spouse. And because the emphasis is on self-change, it works. So sometimes there's been about a third of the attendees are attending alone. Some have come because they got divorced and they want to see what to do differently the next time. And it works for them too. But there are many times then that the one partner is saying, I'm out of here. You're the one who's the whole problem. And that person starts attending third option. And after, 6, 8 weeks, their partner starts seeing that they're actually putting into practice the self-change tools,
Yeah.
not other change. It's all about self-change. And they're putting it into practice, and it seems like it's really actually sincerely being implemented. And then the partner shows up. And so it's been fun. We've had times where there's been a number of men I think of who were the ones who came to the class.
The first ones
Right.
to attend, and the woman wouldn't come.
Yeah. And then, 2 months later, they show up with their partner, and they're just beginning the journey again through all the topics, and then the partner's with them, and they're growing together.
And each of the topics is taught 1 week. So it's a 14-week cycle to go through all of the topics. But like Alex said, a new person can start on any week because each one stands alone. It doesn't matter where you start in the cycle.
And then the other thing we really love about it is it's welcoming to everyone. I kind of think of it as sort of the relationship soup kitchen. We have places where if you need help with finances or material things, the church it often offers that, right? Well, this is sort of the soup kitchen for people in distressed relationships. So people come in. We have had all sorts of faiths attend, and they see sincere people willing to help them with practical tools, and the sincere people are believers. And so as a result of this, there have been people who have come to faith because they entered at a point of need for their distress in their marriage, and they end up finding their God. So we've been really excited about that aspect of it. The teaching is not overtly Christian. So there's actually a topic, forgiveness. And we talk about the process of forgiveness, what the wrongdoer has to do. Don always, when we teach it, he's the representative of the
she
wrongdoer.
pointed at me. And
then,
I love it, the wrongdoer.
And then with the injured person, the work the injured person has to do. But at the end of each week, at the end of each session, and in forgiveness, we have a couple who comes up, and they each week a couple tells their story about that topic, and they're a back from the brink couple. So we have a couple that comes and has shared for years their story of the affair that happened and how forgiveness was a big part of it. And because they're sharing their story, God is a big part of it. And so the people there, the participants, hear from those sharing stories, beautiful stories about how God shaped their marriage, worked in each of them individually. So that's also a wonderful part of it too.
So in those 2 hours on Tuesday nights, there's an hour for small group, like a support group time, and it's led by a facilitator, a volunteer, and it's confidential. And couples and individuals can share what their week was like, and if things were terrible, or if things were good, or if they were putting into practice some of the things they learned. And so it's just a safe time to be with others who are growing, others who maybe are hurting, others who are in that process of restoring their relationships. And then the second hour is that teaching time and that sharing couple who tells their back from the brink story. So it's a simple format, but it's just rich and beautiful and welcoming, and so we love it.
Well, and it's hard to believe, listening to you talk and seeing the beautiful expressions on your faces and the way you interact so beautifully. But you guys have a back from the brink story that you share on one of the nights.
Actually, yeah, we speak on 2 of the topics, and one of them is expectations, because that really messed us up, because we had the perfect Christian courtship for 2 years before we got married.
I thought our marriage was going to be the marriage people look up to and say, oh, that's how it's supposed to be.
Well, it is now.
And for 2 years, we had this incredible courtship. I don't think we fought at all.
We had one disagreement, and it was very logical,
Yeah.
and it worked out well.
Then we got married, and the next day, she was crying. She was feeling that I did something to hurt her. She was attacking me and blaming me for things. I'm defensive. She's attacking. And I didn't understand what was going on, but it just continued for the first month, the second month, and it got worse and worse. And I couldn't understand what had happened. And after 3 or 4 months of that, us fighting, doing this pattern, I realized that I had made the worst mistake of my life. And I didn't know how I could have been so blind. How did I miss that? I'm not dumb. How did I miss this? I didn't see what she was really like. I was fooled. And I was hoping and wishing that I could get out of it somehow. And if divorce had been an option that I felt free to choose, that would have been the time that I had chosen that. But it was not an option for me because of my faith. And so I kind of came to the conclusion that I'm stuck and I can't go anywhere. And she's not what I thought she was. And I pretty much screwed up my life, but that's the way it is. I have to face it. And so I told Alex, look, this isn't good. We're doing the same stuff over and over. And I'm not going to go anywhere. I'm here to stay, but I'm not going to keep doing this pattern where I'm defensive all the time. It's not helping. You don't believe me. I'm not going to keep doing it.
Right. And that was key. What apparently was happening, now that we've learned and reflected was, I was kind of reenacting my parents' marriage. All I saw was attacks, hitting below the belt. Your partner was your enemy, your spouse was your enemy. So he kind of became my enemy the day after we got married, and attack first before he does, protect yourself at all costs. So,
and I knew she came from a broken family, but I thought, oh, she's a wonderful believer. She's not like them at all. That's not going to be an issue.
So what happened was when he said, I'm not going anywhere, that kind of was the anchor for me. And then occasionally we would have a disagreement that did not disintegrate. And those would give me the little glimmers of hope. Wow. So with him really expressing that commitment, not like, hey, I'm happy I'm here. It is, hey, I'm not going anywhere. We're going to have to work this out. That was the foundation. And then the fact that I think that sometimes couples feel like when they start these kinds of difficult marriages, that they're doomed. And those glimmers of hope made me think, no, we're not doomed. So it took a while for us to figure out what was going on. It took forgiveness. It took growth for both of us, because Don realized he was part of the problem.
I was part of the problem. I came from a family where my father was avoidant. He wouldn't fight with my mom. He wouldn't really even talk deeply with my mom. If she said she wanted to talk about a problem or something, he'd walk out of the room. Yeah. So I didn't realize I was like that. And I wasn't like that for 2 years when we were dating. We talked about everything. And then after we got married, I unconsciously started to behave like my father. And I was distant and I wasn't as available as I had been. And so we figured out over those months that we were acting out these patterns from our families. And we didn't want to, we didn't choose it. It was unconscious.
Right. And for me, I had probably more work than Don, because the things I heard, spewed at each other, that my parents spewed at each other, that becomes a part of your, what's in you. And so when we've talked at the third option classes and talked about this during, I think, the expectations and also the speaking topic, speaking the truth in love, I've said sometimes in me a reaction comes that's like, oh, okay, I should do that zinger. It still is ingrained, but now, I've got that I know I can make that choice, the choice to express myself in the ways I've learned through couple talk and relationship enhancement. And I used to think that somebody's giving like an I message, like, I'm feeling upset about what happened. I thought, what a weak thing to say. Why not just say, you're a horrible, terrible husband, right? And then I learned it actually is more powerful to use the I message, because he doesn't run away or attack back. It expresses what I want. I'm feeling upset. I felt uncared about. I felt hurt, and he's much more open. And so it's been really fun to talk to other couples. It was interesting when I was speaking about this at the third option class. Afterwards, this young man came up to me. He was and he said, I don't understand this, but you are me. He said, and I said, that's strange because you're a young Hispanic man and an old white lady that we have in common. And he said, what you're describing about how you learned to talk in your family growing up, and I want to learn how to do this, how to make that choice be. I become so aware of what I'm saying that I get to be like you. So we had a fun time talking about that. But it's really wonderful to be on the other end. It doesn't feel good to be in the middle of that, but Don even realized it wasn't the biggest mistake of his life.
Yeah, when I said that to her, look, we're not going to keep doing this. I'm not going anywhere. Then things started to change a little bit. So the intensity level got a little less, and I was a little more active and a little more involved. And so little by little, and actually it happened pretty quickly, just over a few weeks, hope returned for me. And I realized that I hadn't made the worst mistake of my life. If I had left, that would have been the worst mistake of my life.
Yeah.
But because of my faith, and even though I didn't want it and I felt stuck, because of my faith, I was committed. That commitment God used to reinvigorate our relationship and help us past our family damage and into a better relationship.
And look how much hope you have given so many thousands and thousands of people because you let God work in there. Now, we just have a few minutes left, but I do want you to make sure that you mention Love for Life, because you do have a premarital resource, and you did that for a reason because you feel strongly about that. So tell us about that really quickly.
So in our home church, we were a part of a teaching panel for a number of years there. And then eventually we got hired on at our church as the marriage pastors. And so we did that and oversaw the premarital preparation. And so we developed a class, kind of advanced it. And it is a topical class for 6 weeks. So there are 6 2-hour sessions that we teach live and we teach on Zoom. So twice a year it's available as a distance learning class. And the main typical topics for preparing for marriage. And so that's the first 6 weeks. But then there are 3 weeks where the participants do a SYMBIS assessment. SYMBIS is an assessment that each person answers a number of questions, and it produces a 16-page report about their relationship. And SYMBIS is an odd name, but it's an acronym for Saving Your Marriage Before It Starts, developed by Les and Leslie Parrott. So we use the SYMBIS assessment, and we have coaches that have gone through the training for SYMBIS, and they individually coach. So a coach couple will be with the participant couple, and they develop kind of a friendship and a closeness, and they review this 16-page report over the final 3 sessions. So it ends up being 9 2-hour sessions in total.
I just love how it's a combination of teaching tools and skills and yet also a personal assessment. I have young adult sons and nephews, and it seems like everyone's kind of starting into wedding season. And you don't know how many people that I talk about, premarital education and preparation. And it's so nice to know you have a Zoom thing available. If someone's deployed, if they're not in the same, I had a friend at the gym, and she and her husband are pilots, and they aren't always in the same place at the same time. And there are ways to access that, and it's so valuable. So thank you so much for putting that together in a way that couples can really use it. And thank you for telling us about it, because I would imagine our marriage champions get a lot of use for that. So thank you.
Well, and one of the things we do is make sure there's a lot of conversations between them, because couples generally don't do their homework. So many times we tell them, turn and talk to each other 5 minutes about what we just said. So they're doing the work during those 2-hour sessions, a lot of time spent in conversation. So.
I'm glad she mentioned that, because it's not a 2-hour lecture. We'll teach about a concept or a truth, and then we'll have them talking together privately about it. And when you're engaged, or thinking about engagement, all you want to do is talk to that other person. So they're happy that we shut up and that they get to talk about what what we just said. But we're happy that they're talking about it, and that it's making progress in their relationship.
Oh, and there's a statistic. What is it if you do premarital preparation? What is the statistic about how much it improves your marriage?
Yeah, it's almost like divorce insurance. It reduces the divorce rate by 31% if you've gone through any premarital preparation. Now, not to toot our own horns, but this is very thorough, deep preparation. 9 sessions is a lot. Rarely do couples get that kind of degree of preparation. So I'm sure that the folks that go through Love for Life have a much higher prevention or reduction of divorce. But just the general rate, any kind of premarital preparation reduces divorce by 31%. So it's definitely something every couple should do ahead of getting married.
Oh, well, thank you. That is such a wonderful way to send us off. Don and Alex, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Thanks, Amy. It's been fun.
Oh, it has. And as always, Marriage Champions, if you want more information about Couple Talk, the Fleckys, Live for Life, you can find us at marriageinitiative.org or marriageresources.org.